Hi, Alistair. Hi, guys. We were just discussing about agile coaching, and I woke up this morning thinking, is agile coaching really worth something? Is it valuable or not? So I decided to post something on LinkedIn because I'm really interested to know what are the opinion of all the guys that had to deal with an agile coach. And the question of the poll is agile coaching, are agile coaches useless? What is your opinion, Alistair?
Well, when I saw that post come up, that poll come up, I voted that yes, they were useful, not useless. But as I was deciding on the vote, I very much had to decide what kind of agile coach did I have in mind at the time of answering the question, because I think that there are, and we've all got horror stories, we've all got examples of agile coaches who really are not worth the time or the money. In fact, they're probably detrimental to the team and to the organization. But then others who know what their stuff, who know what they're doing, can be absolutely amazing. So I think I needed a "it depends" button option, I think, to
Yeah, that was my aim, not to put it depends, because it depends, it would have had 100% of the votes. I voted honestly for agile coaches are useless.
Okay.
And then I refer to my to my horror stories. Yes. Think, what was your preferred horror story that where you were dealing with agile coaching?
Well, I think one of my biggest horror stories, I think, is where I was working for an organization that was delivering to a big organization, to the client, and that client had brought in some consultants who were there as agile coaches. And I was really shocked at a number of behaviors that I noticed. It started when I started talking to the client, not the consultants, but the client, asking them questions about what they were looking for and how they were working. And I kept being told, well, this is okay because we're agile. We can do this because we're agile. And all the things they said we could do were things that I think we in the agile community would agree are agile anti-patterns. And what was happening was they were being fed this information from the consultants, and the consultants were merely supporting the mindset of bureaucracy, the industrial age mindset of, but putting an agile badge on it and saying, well, we can do this because agile. And then when I started talking to the consultants, and they were running their ceremonies, and it was it still makes me shudder at what I saw. And it was really, I realized, it was back then that I realized that we need to professionalize our industry, because we need people to come in and be stamped that they are genuinely agile in mindset, and not just put an agile badge on something. So from that perspective, that's one of my big horror stories. And this poor client just kept being driven down into, down this merry path, believing they were agile and believing that everybody was being all agile, and it was not. It was the opposite.
So you see, when we are going into horror stories, and I can tell another thousands of these horror stories, you almost agreeing with me about agile coaches are useless. But let's analyze your horror story. What was missing there? Because where the agile coaches, the horror story, where the interpretation of agile coaching, the horror story, what was it wrong there? Let's put up a canvas, and we can discuss about what were the elements that made that story an horror story.
Okay, let me just pull something up here, just a second. We've got a quick board here. Here we go. Hopefully you can see that now. Let me just put a frame up. Let's see what happens. Okay.
Fantastic. So if I understand well from your horror story, the first element was where the agile coaches of this company, or was that knowledge a real agile knowledge, fit for the purpose? Did they had everything? Their understanding was a correct understanding of what agile is, what agile aims are.
So I guess the quick answer is no, because the things they said that were agile were actually getting in the way and interfering with progress and interfering with the project.
So first element is knowledge. So where their roles and responsibility well defined, what they try to achieve with the customer. Was that the case?
That I don't know. That would have been between them and the customer, I guess. But I see what you're saying. But knowledge, were they a big sort of big four consultancy? So everyone goes, oh yes, you must know what you're talking about. But they didn't.
So that was knowledge and definition, not knowledge and definition, because they could potentially have the knowledge, but not the full understanding of that.
Okay.
So I think that is the first pillar of something that was probably missing there. No, okay. Definitely missing. It was an horror story. Not probably, definitely.
Okay.
Second, were all the prerequisites in place? Because you remember we discussed in another video that if we want to work, some prerequisites should be in place.
Is that how you spell it?
I am very bad in English. Prerequisites. I think that should be.
Anyway, that's what we mean.
Yes. Don't judge us on our spelling, please. Hope it is correct.
Okay. So
where the prerequisite was transparency, was knowledge, was how about the bureaucracy in that place?
And I suppose transparency, access, a bias towards action, the things that we talked about last time, were they there? Probably not. Okay, so then yes, I get that. Yeah,
missing. So you cannot have an house standing or a temple standing if you don't have this at least two pillars. Correct. Then let's see what else. Where was there instilled any measurement awareness of what they try to achieve? So measurement about we are trying to achieve this performance. We're trying to achieve this philosophy implementation. We're trying to achieve this value. We're trying to achieve this well-being in the teams. Was anything of that present?
So I think that obviously being smart consultants, they would have put in measures that they knew they could achieve, and they probably did that. Being a little bit sort of so I think they would have walked out of there able to charge the fees that they charged by saying, yes, we achieved the things that we said we were going to achieve. Did they actually help the project? In my opinion, no.
Can I add on this? Often in the really horror stories, the stories that let me, there was an horror story, I will not tell where it happened to me, where after the project I stayed with 6 months with my arm not moving because of the stress I had. The first element that I put in place when I arrived, because they were already 3 years into the project, were measures, even just performance measures, to understand that the prior 3 years they didn't deliver anything. So and on the like on the cave of the Dante's Inferno, there was a writing that a scripture, something like that. It was "We are agile." In Dante's Inferno, you don't. If you go through this, you will never come back. You don't go through this and that was "We are agile." And internally, there was no idea of agilism, but no measure whatsoever. Even that, and there were. The guys having put agility and the project in place were the usual suspects.
Yeah.
Let's put another element. Now there are 3 pillars, but I don't see any foundation. Were these guys completely, fully transparent and honest? Where there was integrity there? And how big was the ego of these guys?
Exactly. Well, we know the answer to that without stating it, but I think certainly the sense that I got, not just from that project, but from other projects, is that there was a sense of protecting their own and protecting themselves, and what could they get out of this, rather than a genuine, we are here to help the customer, the client, 100%, at the expense of even saying, hey, we're not the right people for you. There was none of that. It was more about how can we put our claws in, put our feet under the table and put our claws onto the desk and make sure that we never leave, because we are always going to be needed. And I think, and so, yeah, calling that a lack of integrity might lead us into some interesting paths that we probably don't want to go into. But I think ultimately it's certainly not optimal.
Yeah, no, but I see integrity not only as honesty, as, let's say, honesty in the large term. I don't think that a lot of these guys are cheating or scamming the customer. So often we miss integrity also towards ourselves. We don't want to become aware that something is not going well, that we should change completely what we are doing, that probably the insuccess of something is also something that we have not achieved, not properly planned or helped achieve. So integrity is not only about honesty in general, but honesty towards what we ourselves.
Yes.
Fair. And the point is, go, Alistair.
Yes.
So now the interesting thing of this temple is the deck on top of that, because something that I always missed in the horror stories.
Yes.
Was precisely the opposite of what you were saying, that consultants are always there, trying to stay there as long as possible and making their customers fully dependent on the coach. Mm-hmm. For me, that is autonomy. So the main objective of an agile coach is at least to achieve the autonomy of the people that you are coaching, the people and the teams that you are coaching. And autonomy is that I know what I'm doing, I know what I want to achieve, I know how this tool works and how I can achieve this with this tool, and I can continue on my journey without a coach, at least.
Yeah. And I think that's what we need, is we need to, and I think that I think we've connected there the integrity with the autonomy, is that if the individual or the team can't operate without the guidance or the presence of, we call them a coach in this example, then they don't have autonomy. And is that any better than having a command and control leadership structure? So if you can't do it without me, then you can't do it. Whereas everything that you and I learn about leadership these days is all about how do we create leaders in the organization so that we become fully dispensable, and that leadership continues without us. And I think one of the things that we want to see in our leaders and in our coaches is that the influence of the leader and the coach is felt even when the coach or leader is not present.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have autonomy, but you also have value.
Autonomy.
And I think coming back to the question, are coaches useless? Well, they can be if their goal is not to create autonomy. If it's to create,
I think if we look at the temple, for sure, number one is if their goal is not to achieve autonomy. But I think this is a temple or even a checklist of the useless coach. A coach is useless if his knowledge and definition of what he has to achieve is not the proper one.
Yes.
If he goes into a place where there are not the right prerequisites and is not fighting to have those in place.
Agreed.
If he doesn't put any awareness and measurement into the place where he's doing, performing his activities, if his integrity and ego are not up to the standard.
Yes. And the proof of all of that is whether the team can be autonomous.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think let's close it here, and we will get in the next video probably another thing on and what else after autonomy. Is there a different world?
Well, I think for me, I always want to align autonomy with purpose, because it's all very well having a bunch of autonomous individuals in the organization, but if we're not all aligned working towards a common goal, then you have 15 people on a rugby field. If they don't have a common purpose and a common goal to win the match, and to win the Six Nations or the World Cup, then you just have 15 people running in all sorts of directions, doing their own thing and doing cartwheels if they choose to. So we need somehow to align autonomy with purpose, and with a goal, so I think that's maybe something that we need to look at next, because possibly that's what a lot of people misunderstand about autonomy, is that they think it's a free-for-all and they think it's just open-ended nonsense, whereas actually it's about figuring out the best and most effective ways of delivering the collectively agreed outcome.
Absolutely. Fantastic.
Well, we will look at that anon. Talk to you soon.
Ciao.